We're so excited. It's always good to collaborate
Thank you,
and be with
Astrid.
like-minded. You're just such a beautiful soul.
Thank you
You
so
little
much.
Sagittarius baby. This is your birthday month.
Thank you.
And
we had a good morning. Thank you
Good
for the
morning.
breakfast.
Oh, of course, but I have 3 signs in Sagittarius. When I connect with someone, I'm always looking for what connects us, other than our hellified, buster move type personalities. But
Yes.
it's real. Like I connected with you on that fire aspect. So
Definitely.
welcome everybody.
So thank
We
you,
are back.
everybody, and I'm happy we are having a few people.
Yes, we
live.
do. Hey, Jill, long time no see. Welcome.
Thank you.
Jill is another super being woman, just amazing. So this is going to be our last energy medicine talk of 2023. And this is something that we've enjoyed thoroughly, right? We both have enjoyed. And in the process of it, we were talking, we do it because we like it for ourselves. It helps us, right?
Yes.
And
sorry, I couldn't see you.
Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
We're closing out the year.
And we have a good topic today.
A great topic,
how to reset your body from trauma. And I like how you talked to me just before. How do you define trauma? Because it can be interesting how people perceive. So
yeah, they perceive. Yeah, trauma's not, people, when we think of trauma, we think of being an orphan or surviving a war or da-da-da. Trauma can be, it's so many layers to trauma. It could be working in a hostile work environment. It could be sleeping with the enemy. You know what I'm saying? But like a car accident is a big form of trauma, especially for the body. And sometimes people, we live in a state, unfortunately, where people are suit happy, but people get injured really badly and they downplay it. And that becomes trauma later in life if they don't get the proper care and the rehabilitation from it. But just a car accident, I saw someone walking across a crosswalk that almost nearly got hit. Can you imagine now whenever they cross the street? And so when something happens to us emotionally or mentally, it finds a place to set in the body.
Exactly. And exactly what you say, I agree. I work with people who had car accident, and sometimes what was your word? We downplay it.
Yeah, downplay it.
And be compassionate with a person who will tell their story, because we all go, oh, but it's nothing. Oh, if it was me.
Or at least you survived. At least you came out.
You'll be okay.
Yeah.
Exactly. Be already listening, like we said, hey, help the other person to process that moment.
It does.
And every trauma has a different intensity for each of us.
Absolutely. I think we share, and we've been through different types and waves and levels, which everyone goes through. That's the thing. No one is trauma-free. Really, no one is trauma-free, depending on how you were raised by your parent. And I was talking to a psychologist a week and a half ago. She works with children in particular. And this thing about this instant, sometimes sibling rivalry, I'm like, where does this come from? Like you turn and your brother thinks you're the enemy. And you're actually siblings. So that's always fascinated me. But that's trauma. Can you imagine growing up with a sibling or having sibling rivalry in the family that you're not even a part of?
And it's interesting. We are so in sync for our topics. A patient shared, and I won't share the whole story, but her sister is jealous, and she realized over time. And so all of those things, I think,
that's a form of
trauma.
Yeah.
That's why we want to say, already if a friend or somebody from your family tells you a story, don't downplay it. Listening is already helping that person.
Absolutely.
And we love that quote. We were both reading Gabor Mate, so I'll let you say what he says, because it's how we understand that's what's going on in the body you can heal, because he says, you want to say?
He says, trauma is not what happened to you, it's what happened as a result of what happened to you. So again, we hear it, it's kind of like a buzzword, you are not your trauma. That's easier said than done.
Yes.
Because it's visceral, it is physical, and I've learned through working with people, which I'm sure you have, it will land usually typically in the weakest part of your body.
It's so a wound.
Yes.
It's going somewhere.
It's going to go somewhere. So if you have weaker shoulders or stomach issues, heart, we all share in the classics with the heart, affecting the heart and affecting the immune system. Everybody affects the immune system, but we need to...
it will land. I'm sorry.
Yes.
Or it will... That's how something new to your body start being awakened. Like suddenly, because of one type of trauma, you start having stomach ache.
Yeah.
And stomach, not to generalize, but it's how you digest something. So
absolutely.
It's just a way of this event going in your body somewhere. And
we're very, 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 very powerful. And like you always say, we're our best self-healer.
Yes.
I think that's truly our overarching message is it's never too late to heal trauma. You have empowered everyone's hands. We all have energy in it. Most of us just let our hands stay dormant.
Yes.
And then there are people like you that step on the path to facilitate healing through our hands and through our energy. So
yes, and that was what we are saying today. Is just the first step, how to reset your body from a traumatic event. And I would love you to share maybe from one moment that's the empowerment we have.
yes.
There's always something deep in you who, if you tap into it, is going to say, okay, that's how I'm going to have my first step now.
Yes,
so
yes.
I don't know if you would like to share.
Well, as we said that quote, the good news is that it's just a result. It's not really defined you, and it's literally brushing it away, rinsing. We can rinse it away.
We can heal that.
Yes,
wound.
We can heal that one. That's the good news.
That's the good news. And from our traumatic event, I really do believe, as a human person, we all of us have traumatic event. There's no way. It's life.
It's life.
And how many
even if it's your perceived perception of it. There's that story they said 40-year-old person's on the therapist's couch is 40 because their stuffed animal fell out of the bed, out of the crib, and no one came to pick it up and get it for them for, whatever probably seemed like an eternity. That's real.
Yes.
And we could say, oh, get over it, but until you just face what that is, that teddy bear, that stuffed animal on the ground for you was real.
And definitely your childhood has a big component of who you're going to be as an adult.
Yeah.
So how do you reset, or how do you start from, okay, now I'm going to take care of myself with that thing that is still in me, and I had thing in my body that was ended bothering me, and I couldn't take it anymore.
I think before we went live, we talked about this. Remember that part of our problem is we talked about some of our traumatic stories.
Yes.
Is that we downplay it in a different way to say, well, I didn't get burned. Oh, at least this didn't happen.
Oh, I didn't die.
Yes, I didn't die.
I'm still alive.
Or because you're compassionate, you say, well, Susie went through XYZ, and luckily I only went through ABC.
Mm-hmm.
And so we also undermine our right to feel it and to have it be something that we struggle with.
Yes.
So we remove sometimes our own right to feel some type of way about it, right?
You're so right, Astrid. That's a good point. And that's we're holding back, so we don't face that thing because we downplay it.
And this is what Gabor Mate talks about, just not naming the thing, not speaking up He gave the story of a woman, corporate executive, super high power company, very massively successful. Her husband, but she came down with stage 4 breast cancer, and she had one year to live. And he said she just celebrated 10 years. The catalyst was her speaking of, she was with a husband that was alcoholic.
Mm-hmm.
She worked a job that was crazy and she was turning over herself. And she just said, screw it. She sat her whole family down. She had stuff going on in her family that was always swept under the rug. She sat her family down. She sat her husband down. And 10 years later, because the power of the voice, speaking to a therapist, I think you said this.
Yes, I mean, I'm guilty of many things that I downplayed and I didn't voice it. And there was, I would say, 2 really traumatic events in my life. So I downplayed saying, well, I'm still alive, but what you said, each event, when I look back, my first thing, and then maybe you'll say, it was to voice, to start letting it out to, it was a therapist, because sometimes it's hard to, certain things it's hard to say to your friend or your family. So find your team, find the people you need help. I think that's the part as well, is to realize we need help. And who's going to be your helper? Because
what does help look like for you in that
but
case?
And it could be a team. For me, it became a team of people.
Me too.
Helping to go through those very tough moments. And that's why you're your self-healer, because in my darkest time, meaning where there was no more emotion, there was still one thing that made me go that little step forward, that power in me, it was there, but it was so hard. Sometimes it's really hard to find.
No, it's really hard. And we have to pass through the eye of the needle, which is tight, to get to the other side. Unfortunately, pain and trauma requires a little bit more uncomfortableness. And then as a therapist, I'm sure on your table, people probably share, because what I feel like what your work does, it opens up the possibility.
Yes.
It kind of exposes, and someone saying, I didn't realize I was carrying so much tightness. And then it starts to open and awaken. I think hairdressers are therapists. Peeling the onion. But using your voice, you can start using, this is why journaling is so important.
Okay, so let's have some tools maybe for people.
Some tools.
Voice, journaling.
Screaming in the shower, screaming in your car, letting it out. It's what I love about you, Katya, when we get together, like, and we understand each other. But I've always been one, and Gabor Mate says this, say it. It doesn't mean the person has to do anything about it.
Nice.
But in not saying, because you're thinking for yourself. If your boss doesn't want to listen to you and you finally speak up and say something and they do nothing with it, it's not your job to worry about it. You're killing, and this is what got me, is like, you're inch by inch, day by day, you're stripping away some of your health by just not even speaking up.
So now, I love what you just said. Now I'm more vocal and I trust you. That's another big thing.
Yeah.
For me, when it was those 2 huge events, when I look back, I needed somebody neutral. So therapist was my neutrality. It couldn't be anybody else. And that's where we come with our job as a therapist. And I always say, it's a private moment. It's confidential. And that helps. Because again, sometimes your friends, your family, they want actually to help you, and it's not helping, or there are things that are so traumatic you can't share with people.
It's so traumatic for your partner, and not to mix bag men. Obviously, they're mindful, conscious men. But one of the things for men, since they have this warrior spirit inside of them, when a woman comes to them to talk about trauma, it's so overwhelming for them. They don't know how to articulate their pain, because it's like, I should have been there. I could have done something. And it's like, the helplessness. What could I do? So they just say, well, at least you're alive or something.
Yeah,
something
and actually
cold,
yes.
and you're just like, oh my gosh, you don't understand. But it is coming from that heroism side, that their DNA. When I'm just picking on men, but it could be a woman,
it could be
and
your
vice
partner,
versa. It could be your partner. Whoever
And
your
actually,
partner is.
it's the hardest. I think again. Okay, first certain event, yes, you can speak up and use your voice with people you know. I realized over time, most of the patient on the table, they can't even tell their partner,
Right.
their children. It's too much. It's
Yes,
too much.
yes.
And they need that neutrality of another person.
Absolutely.
And like those book we
I love
had,
this
I
one.
like this one.
Now, I haven't read it. The Body
Psychology.
Keeps Score. This has been on my list for years.
I started.
Transforms our understanding of trauma and offers a bold new paradigm for healing. The body does keep score. I mean, that's what we've been saying. When something happens to you, it finds a place to settle into the body.
It will land.
It will land.
And that's why when I started my own journey, so I got a book in French. Because again, it resonated. It's my first language.
Absolutely.
And it's amazing when I look back. I have this book for 30 years.
Yes.
It's how you link. It's a dictionary. Actually, it's well done.
It's
a Quebecois man who wrote it. And it's whatever place on your body, ache or hurt or feel burned or whatever, what link it has to an emotion. And Louise Hayes does that.
Yeah, she does the same thing. It's like even eczema, like I struggle from eczema.
Yes.
It's spot on. I was working in a place, my eczema was so flared up. The minute I left that place, because it was my eczema is emotion driven too. It's allergen and emotion, but an emotion can trigger. The allergens are always out there if you have eczema or hay fever, things like that. But when the emotion gets to it, it just like runs like a wildfire.
It talks about eczema because I know somebody who has really bad. Your skin is your direct contact with the out world.
Yes.
So what happens if that world around you hurts you? You usually have some skin irritation.
Yes.
And again, I don't want everybody to think, that's not scientific.
No, it is. No, it is.
They
We're
are
beyond
proving
that.
We still have a physical body who has some common reaction to some event and emotion. So we are not too different. Like lately, actually, my son has stomach issue, and I know. What can it be related? Because it's the third time that happened, and each time it's kind of the same reason. But I let him find out sometimes.
Yes, I love it.
And it's interesting because I don't want, because maybe I'm wrong. Let the other person talk to you and express.
Like so you just hold a space for him.
Yes.
And I love it because that's powerful parenting. To allow him to be his person. And it's helping him determine and figure it out. Instead of, no, take Alka-Seltzer, take this, do that. That's beautiful, actually. Yeah.
Well, trying. I'm doing my
practicing what you preach.
I'm like, no.
But I think you asked me the questions, well, where is this coming from? When did this start? Was it yesterday? These are powerful, but wow, empowering him to be willing to express it. Because you instinctively kind of know, but I love the fact that you're willing to say, I could be wrong.
Exactly.
Wrong.
And I love what we just said, because that's, if we can give a little advice of how to help somebody else,
yes,
just listen, be present.
Absolutely.
And like what you just said.
It's so cathartic just to be heard. And we did a full circle last Thursday. And one of the things, it was about celebration and stillness. And we went around the circle and asked people, what are the 3 things you are celebrating that you passed through, that you overcame?
Yes.
For 2023. And the sharing was powerful, but what was the most powerful is everyone's listened attention, because everyone's story has a kernel of truth for us.
Yes.
And no one offered advice.
No.
It was just, and you could see the shift in the person just being heard.
So true.
In a safe,
So
we had
true.
people, they never met us, they never knew us, but we truly authentically hold this space for people to feel free to express. And I felt so good that night because I'm proud of the work that we do, but
Yes.
owning our own foibles and then also being contributors to adding to the things that we were. But it was very powerful, and I just could
Very
see
much.
the people transform just on that little snippet of a night of earnestly and honestly being heard.
Yes. Totally
Yeah.
agree. And if the voice, if we can give a, I don't know what else helped me, but I remember in those, in my darkest time, I was grateful that at least my body was still functioning enough,
Yes, yeah.
just enough, barely enough, because it was just on the edge where I could take walk. And I forced myself to walk outside every day. And so
And I had it
finding your
overtaken.
power, like you say, what it's still in that lowest moment, it's called lower self, and then you have your higher self.
Yeah.
Where is that still this little glimpse of
You
light?
reach in and grab the hand.
And
of that
and I
strength.
remember I was like, if I don't walk every day, this is it. So every day it started with 5 minutes, with 10 minutes, and then I would increase, and that was already, like, again, your first step out. Another one, which
let me stop you there
Yes.
for a quick moment. Sorry to cut you off, but you raise a point. Someone else might say, well, I can't walk an hour every day. I can't work 30 minutes. Again, there's that undermining, like it's only 5 minutes, but it's 5 minutes. You went the opposite way, like it was a win. So again, yeah, thank you for sharing that, because that reminds me of, like, timing is a villain too. We always use time as a marker for growth. Just because we're not seeing it doesn't mean nothing's happening. Over time, it collectively builds up over time. And we're so bad as humans because we're not physically seeing it. We think nothing's happening.
Nice, I love that, Astrid. True, and that's when you come at peace with your own belief.
Yes.
The other big thing was to let go of so many beliefs, but that's hard. And the time was that's a good point, because I had to convince myself that 5 minutes was good enough.
Right. See, I know. I'm so guilty of it. It's like, well, I'll start tomorrow when I can do, but taking that first step.
That's how with your yoga practice is this. I love yoga because of that, and that's where your yoga practice, we have this common thing. It's about
we're going to talk about that one day too. Yeah.
The yoga helped me as well to be at peace. So I was on my own when all this happened, and in another place, I would just go on the floor and do one move. Not the hour of yoga, but one little thing. And that's why the best advice you even give to people, yoga is very beautiful in that sense, is your body, what it can do today, that's just good enough.
Yes. Well, what a great topic, So we're saying, our topic was how to start moving trauma out of your body. I think we've got, like, voicing it.
And all those little tools. Find your tool.
Tool.
We mentioned few, but there are others. I mean, whatever you are going to have that moment of clarity.
And the voice with yourself, literally talking to yourself. I mean, nowadays it's like, we're not crazy when you talk to yourself. I worked from home for 99% of my career, so I was used to talking out loud, but it is now coming forward. Talk to yourself out loud. Have a conversation with yourself. Until you can find.
I read that because we knew we were having this topic. I was in yoga. When you even that, because there again we all have whole belief.
Even laughter. Laughter, one of my.
That's hard though when you're in your place, but
but having someone facilitate it,
exactly.
I remember in the middle of. We'll talk about this next year, probably some specifics, but in the middle of one of my darkest hours, a guy brought comedy, but I felt so good that they had the consciousness to see it. and we laughed, but it was brutal. But we laughed and
Yes.
laughed. Laughter is another one. So
Laughter.
yeah.
Yes, thank
Trauma
you.
is not what happened to you. It is what happened as a result of what happened to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Katya.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining and
Yes.
listening in. Alice, thank you. Who else? I can't see. Oh, Nikos Van joined. Jill V. I can't see. I can't read it, but thank you.
Thank you all
We're
for
so
being
honored
with
when
us.
you tune in. I'm looking forward
We
to
are so
2024.
Yes, that's our live
Yeah.
last live of this year.
We're coming back on the, we should have wrote this down. The 11th?
No, 11th is the full circle, the 17th.
Oh, the 17th will be back.
We'll post.
We're also adjusting to one circle. We'll talk about all of that.
But two lives.
But
two lives. We keep the lives.
We keep the lives because they're cathartic for us, knowing that we're being heard.
And they are important. I thank you all for joining, really, truly, because that's why we keep on doing it.
Yes,
isn't it?
Because of your
and
engagement.
I have so beautiful feedback. So we all really, really much appreciate you, and from listening to us, it's our gift.
It's our contribution. Yeah, it's our contribution. Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you for my birthday advance breakfast.
Yes.
Thank you all
Safe
for being
travels if you're traveling with your family and friends. And I still have a sound bath.
Yes.
Coming up at the end of the month. I'm closing out the year powerfully with it's going to be the winter solstice for the sound bath.
Nice.
And then the following week, the full circle. It's about the full moon in Cancer release on the 28th. The last moment, and then you can go hoo-ha and have a great New Year's Eve. Thank you.
Wishing you all happy holidays.
Blessings.
Thank you.
Yes, take care.